A second stimulus package deal is likely imminent, so how soon will you get your checks? Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Evenings LALATE. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're good and safe. This is our 1-hour programming block in the nighttime with the check and then EIDL, two 30-minute videos, usually about 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and starting after that. Big news on Friday broke on this channel first that a likely deal is allegedly imminent on the second stimulus package, which would get you the second stimulus check. Earlier today, I talked about what you may or may not have to do with a non-filer, and I had a few errors or things that were not particularly clear in that video after I rewatched it, so I'm going to go over it with you right now. Additionally, I want to explain to you that the IRS appears to have sort of changed what they had initially said about non-filers several months ago, so I want to go over everything with you right now. First, if you are a dependent on someone else's tax return, you don't have to do anything. The second stimulus check will go to that person whose return you are on. So again, if you are a dependent on someone else's tax return, you don't have to do anything. Your check will be going to the person whose return you are on as a dependent. Next, if you are a recipient of veterans benefits, then as to your check, you don't have to do anything. The IRS will send it to you in the manner in which you have veterans benefits sent monthly. There was a specific agreement reached between the VA and the IRS for the first stimulus package back in the spring. I mean, this is really great news. Now, the bigger great news is all my SSI, SSDI, and Social Security benefit recipients. This is where I sort of messed up the clarification this morning, so I want to go over it a little bit better today. This video is the more explains it better. So get out a pen and paper. If you are on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits and are dependent on someone else's tax return, you don't have to do anything. Your check will go to that person whose return you are dependent on. Pretty clear. Now, what if you are not a dependent on someone else's return and are on benefits? As to your check only, or you and your spouse's check, if you are on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you don't have to do anything. Again, this is as to your check only. But if you have a child and you are on benefits, you do have to do a non-filer if you have never filed 2019 or 2018 tax returns. This is a little bit, it's a little bit detailed. So I'm trying to keep this clear for you. The confusion erupts about generally the child. The IRS says that if you are on benefits and you do not file a 2019 or 2018 return, you need to do a non-filer so they know where that child is to ensure that the child gets the stimulus check. Now, repeat, if you are on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans benefits, you don't have to do anything for your check or your spouse's check if you are not a dependent. You don't have to do anything. The reason why is because the IRS fixed this up back in April after they initially had problems with it, and then they fixed it up. The only case that you really have to get this non-filer on file now, allegedly, is for the child. Next, let me answer 3 other questions which I saw in this afternoon's video on Afternoons LALATE which always starts every day at about 3:30 p.m. with a 2-hour programming block, 4 videos, a new video every 30 minutes. The first question I got a lot about was, I did a non-filer before. Do I have to do it again? No. If you've done one before, you do not have to file a filer again. Second, if you got a stimulus check the first time around, do you have to do anything the second time? No. I mean, if nothing has changed in your life, nothing has changed about the tax return, nothing has changed about the way you receive funds, you don't have to do anything again because you got the first stimulus check. Clearly, you were teed up correctly. Third, I had a couple people asking me, well, I didn't file return in 2018, I didn't file return in 2019, or something changed with the returns. The bottom line is that if you have never been a dependent on someone's returns but are on SSDI, SSI, Social Security benefits, you don't have to do anything. Now, I'm going to add this important factor to the 5-minute mark of this video, and this is so critically important, and so please grasp this one. There is nothing wrong about filing a non-filer when you don't have to. It's just an additional precaution that IRS knows where you are. Again, if you've done a non-filer before, or you did a non-filer today, or you did one a few days ago, there's nothing wrong about doing it. It doesn't get you in harm's way. It doesn't, confuse anyone. There's nothing wrong with doing it. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I just want to be careful, I'm just going to file the non-filer just to be careful. You can. You absolutely can. Last, and this is really sort of bounces off the prior comment, the IRS seems to not get their act together. They seem to keep on changing what you have to do and don't have to do. So if you're hearing me say that, you're like, I think I'm just going to file that non-filer because it's just they just keep on changing their story. What's going on? I did a lot of videos a few weeks ago where I literally was reading from the IRS's website that said the following people have to do a non-filer. Those were people who just started benefits this year. I was reading the IRS's website. It said, not people who just started SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or Railroad benefits this year have to do a non-filer if you did not file 2018 or 2019 tax returns and you're not a dependent. You have to do it. That's what they said. Now you go to the non-filer website, and it says, hey, don't do anything if you're on benefits. We know where you are. Well, that's not what you said a few weeks ago. And needless to say, millions and tens of millions of people on benefits never got their first stimulus check. So ultimately, it's your decision. The important thing for you to understand is that there are guidelines as to what you don't have to do, but doing extra won't put you in harm's way. It'll just really ensure that, hey, that LLA kid really, made me be super cautious that I get my check. Again, if you are a dependent on someone else's tax return, that other person is likely to get your check. Now, again, likely is how the IRS is saying it, but that's not to say that it may end up landing in your account personally. So a lot of confusion and a lot of strange oddities, which the bottom line is, if you watched the earlier video today, you are not the donut guy. So that's the good news. You are not the donut guy. You now know what you have to do. You now know the issues involved, which is the non-filer. You now know that the IRS has some issue in locating children of people on benefits. The IRS has issue in locating people who just started benefits this year. The IRS claims to not have issues with people who have been on benefits before this year, but yet a lot of you never got a check. Last, as to this issue, before I move on, remember, the first stimulus check was not issued. You were not eligible for a first stimulus check if you were an adult dependent on someone else's tax return. So if you were an adult dependent on someone else's tax return in the spring of this year, based upon, a 2018 return or 2019 return, you are not eligible for a first stimulus check. You are eligible for a second stimulus check. There's no one in this entire universe of the permutations this time around who is not eligible for a second stimulus check if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. There's no one in that group that is not eligible, with potentially only two exceptions. One, you're on Social Security benefits, but you have a lot of, stocks and bonds, and you get a lot of dividends, and so you just make a buttload of money every year. Make $200,000 in dividends every year. Well, you're not going to get a stimulus check. Sorry to say. I think you sort of knew that. I didn't have to tell you that. The next person that may not get a second stimulus check is under the Democrats' proposal. If you are one of 4 dependents on someone else's tax return, that 4th person's not going to get a stimulus check. It's sort of one of those rules that was in the HEROES Act, the Democratic proposal. As you know, I've been detailing in the last 24 hours that a deal is allegedly imminent. Will that provision stay? It's likely to stay. So if you don't know that answer, you need to call up the person whose return you're on. So if you're on your son's return and your son is married, husband and wife, and that son has 3 kids, you're in trouble, because that's 4. Husband and wife are the non-dependents, and then you have 1, 2, 3 kids, you are the 4th, you're in trouble. So, I'd have to arm wrestle one of the kids for that stimulus check. Finally, the amount of the stimulus check, that's been really the topic du jour. Pass some Grey Poupon on. Since yesterday, we had been detailing that it is a series of new reports out that the second stimulus check deal and the second stimulus package deal is imminent. So when would you get the funds, and how much would you get? First, the second question appears to be easier. It is likely the deal is going to be $1,200 for everyone. Child, $1,200. Adult dependent, $1,200. You, $1,200. Parents, $1,200. Son, $1,200. Everyone, $1,200. The only cases in which it's not $1,200 is husband and wife. Then they get $4,800. Then they would get $2,400, double the amount. Pretty simple. It appears that's where we're going. Next, when would you get the check? It appears that if you receive your benefits by electronic means, direct deposit or debit card, you are really lined up to get it first. Also, if you are not on benefits, but the IRS has your bank account, that you pay the IRS through a certain bank account they have on file, you are also lined up to get it electronically really early on. What is that early on date? It appears it's going to be mid-August. I'm not going to say early August. Early August is next week. The bill, if passed next week, would basically say, hey, the funds are probably would basically route you those funds electronically in about 2 weeks. The next group are the paper check people. Those would be later in August. That's apparently where we now stand. Finally, I got in some hysterical questions this morning, yesterday. I've answered them sometimes, but I still got to answer them. People are like, so is my check coming tomorrow? Hey, LA, is my check coming tomorrow? No, your check is not coming tomorrow. Is my check coming today? No, it's not coming today. Well, I heard they're you said they're close to a deal, so that means my check's coming tomorrow. No, it's not coming tomorrow. It takes a couple of weeks to get a check out. Ultimately, the routing of funds electronically is a fast process. And I know, and I gotta say this now, because I have a feeling I'm going to be making this video over and over again in mid-August. If the bill gets passed, like when we think it's going to get passed, some people will get direct deposits faster than a neighbor next door, because some banks process direct deposits faster. It's just the nature of the beast. You know that if you get a lot of direct deposits. Some banks literally do them within 24 hours. Some are just slow. So there you go. Finally, the amount of the check and any other versions or multiple checks. Yes, you've been asking about that as well. It appears that for this stimulus round, the second one, we generally call it the second stimulus package, even though it's really not the second per se. It's more like the 4th. But where we are now in August, this appears to be the final stimulus package during this presidential term. There's always likelihood that someone realizes, and you know who I'm going to say, someone realizes the election is really close, it's a dead heat, or they're behind in the polls by 1 or 2%, and that maybe if they sent one more check, that could give them the lead. Yes, I'm going to say to you right now, because you love my predictions, that it is highly possible that this president would issue another stimulus check on the eve of the vote, on the eve of the election. Why? Because the first time he issued a stimulus check, he just got a pop in the polls. I mean, it's just obvious. He got a 3 to 4% pop, and you're going to get a 3 to 4% pop if you give someone money. I mean, it's just how it works. People love money, and despite whether or not they're going to vote for the person or like the person, there are people who are uncommitted. There are people in swing states, and that additional check could determine who's the next president of the United States. So if you think there could be another stimulus check come September, you're thinking potentially right. But at the moment, there's no proposal for it. Coming up after this is EIDL. And join me tomorrow morning for Mornings LALATE. Boy, that was a lot of fun today. I enjoyed it. Thank you for nice comments. I love saying good morning to all of you. It really is... if you don't know on a personal level, as soon as the video goes live, I personally like to just block out, 15 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes to just say hello, good morning right back to every one of you. So it's really a lot of charm. And I love to do that on the first afternoon video, which always debuts about 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. I just love interacting with you and saying good afternoon. That's the spirit of this channel. So if you are the donut guy, and if you're the donut guy, please pay attention to what you got to do. Oh, and by the way, in the third video tonight, apparently at one point I said that there's a proposal on the table for $600 an hour FPUC. I hope there is. That, of course, was an error. But if you like $600 an hour FPUC, drop in the comments below. I certainly love it. I would support that as well. Have a great evening and join me for the next video on EIDL. Take care.